From Lake Fairfax Park in Northern Virginia, EX2 Adventures presents the Rails to River Cross Country mountain bike race. This race challenges riders over a grueling 7-mile course. Each lap tests skill and endurance with technical single track and over 500 feet of varied climbing. This year's race was fast, wet, and muddy. This is the Rails to River. See you at the finish line.
Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit it!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are racing at the 2025 Rails to River Cross Country Mountain Biking Race. So I've done this race about 4 or 5 times now, and again this year I'm doing the 1-lap race, which is about 7.5 miles. So in this video I just wanted to show a few highlights from the race. I'm not going to show the entire race, but just a few clips that I thought were interesting from the race. So there were a few new things new for this race this year. First and foremost, I am on a new bike. So I'm on a Trek Procaliber 9.6. This should be the Gen 2 version of the bike because they just came out with the Gen 3. But I got the Gen 2 on sale for a pretty good price, so I picked that up a few months ago. So this is definitely a pretty good upgrade over my previous bike, which was an aluminum hardtail, the Trek Excalibur 8. So this Procaliber is still a hardtail as well, but it is carbon. It has 110 millimeters of suspension up front, and it's kind of a soft tail. So on the seat post or on the seat stay, there is a little bit of flexion, I guess. So it does, absorb a tiny bit of bumps and things like that. So pretty light, pretty rigid, pretty fast. I was pretty happy with how this bike performed on this race today. So this course is the same course as it was last year. So in previous years for this race, the start and finish was in a totally different location, but due to some construction, the race is starting in this location again this year. So also new for this year, I guess you could say it's new, but there was a good amount of rain, I guess, leading up to the race. So there was a good amount of mud on the course, nothing crazy. But I think there was more mud today than there were in previous races that I can recall. So the tires that I'm using are 2.4-inch Maxxis Recon Race. So that's also a pretty good upgrade from my previous bike. I think on my previous bike I had 2.25-inch tires. So having that just a little bit of extra width was definitely nice to have. I also made sure that my tire pressure was as dialed in as possible for the race. So I think in the front I was running 18 psi and in the rear 20 psi. So with all the roots, the rocks, the mud, the water from all the creek crossings, having your tire pressure dialed in for this race is super important. So now we're at kind of the split where you can choose the A line or the B line. I chose the A line. I practiced this part of the course a few times before the race. So it's definitely a challenging line right here. But if you know what you're doing, if you practice it enough times, it's not too bad. So I think by taking the A line, I was actually able to make up 1 place in the race. So at this point, I should be in, I believe, 6th place, 5th or 6th place. Of course, today my goal was to get on the podium. So in cycling, the top 5 riders normally are on the podium. So I believe I'm in 6th place at this point. So I won't spoil the ending, but you'll see how I do as the video goes on. So as is always the case with the Rails River, there are a bunch of creek crossings, as we've seen already. I think we already went over 2. So that just makes your tires, really wet and even more muddy. So I also practiced this section of the course multiple times, but since my tires were so wet, there's so much mud, I did slip up a little bit there. But I think that was the only section of the course where I actually, had to put my feet down on the ground. This is also a steep, rocky section right here, but I was able to get up without much of an issue. So I'll let the video play a little bit, and I'll come back in a few seconds with some additional commentary. So as you can hopefully see in some of these clips, you can just notice the amount of mud on the ground. So the turns were pretty slippery. So you had to go a little bit slower in the turns than if the course was dry, but it wasn't anything too crazy. So this section of the course is really fast, probably the fastest section of the course besides maybe the finish. But just due to all that mud, I probably didn't go as fast as I could have if it was dry. I just tried to keep up a decent speed without falling over. I'm actually pretty surprised I didn't fall during this course, just due to the amount of mud this year. But luckily I was able to stay upright the entire course. So now we're approaching another creek crossing coming up soon. And as you saw recently in the video, those other riders weren't too far ahead. So I guess they were the 5th place and 4th place riders. So I knew I was still pretty close to them. So I was just trying to pace myself, remain calm, and keep riding my own race. So in this course, there aren't any, super major long climbs, but pretty much the entire course is just up and down constantly, switchbacks. So there are a bunch of short, steep climbs, short, steep descents, but nothing too long. So this part of the course is always interesting to me because I seem to always hit my handlebars on the trees. I don't know if my handlebars are too wide or if I'm just tired, but in this section I always end up doing that, where I don't quite make it through the hole, but I didn't fall off, so I just kept pedaling and kept going. So this section of the course is probably one of the more popular parts of Lake Fairfax Park. It's more of a flowy section, less roots, less rocks. A couple jumps. I didn't jump over them. I just rode over them. But this is probably one of the faster, flowier, more fun sections of the course. At least it's more fun when you're not tired. During these cross-country races, you're pushing pretty hard. So it's not like you get to just relax during some aspects of the course, but the flowy sections are always more fun than the choppy sections. So here's yet again another creek crossing. Just makes your tires more wet, more muddy, but they do dry out fairly quickly. So you do regain your traction, pretty quickly. So at this point in the race, I'm still in 6th place, I believe. So I know the course very well. So I think we have, maybe 2.5 miles left to the finish line. And I knew that there's some technical sections coming up, and then the finish line towards the finish line is more of a gravel, flatter section with some hills, but nothing technical. So I knew that if I wanted to reach the podium, one thing I would have to do during these sections would be to not fall off. It's very technical on this section of the course, so didn't want to fall off first and foremost. In the turns, wanted to make sure I stayed upright. You can see all the mud that's everywhere. But also, wanted to maintain as much speed as I could, through the corners, so that I didn't waste any time or extra energy on the straight sections. So, since I'm riding a hardtail, obviously it's a little bit harder to, maintain your speed over the rocks and roots compared to someone on a full suspension bike. But that's just where, your skill comes into play. That's just where your, tire pressure comes into play. That's where your line choice comes into play. So during this section of the course, I wasn't really trying to, speed up too much and catch the guys that were in 5th or 4th place. I was really just trying to maintain my speed, not let them get too far away because I knew they were on full suspension bikes. So I was just really trying to maintain, not push too hard, but make sure that they didn't get too far away either. So there was yet again another creek crossing, another one here, and a pretty steep climb right here with a bunch of roots. So I did actually get over this, but this is a pretty tough section right here. On your right. So I passed that person, not exactly sure what happened. Looked like he slowed down a little bit. So I was able to pass him, and now I am in 5th place. So, at this point, I'm not exactly sure if I knew I was in 5th place. I knew I was, close to the podium. So essentially, in my mind, I figured, if I can pass this rider, that would, probably lock me in for the podium. I wasn't exactly sure if I was in 5th or 6th at this point. So my goal pretty much remained the same. Just try and stay behind him, not let him get too far away for these technical sections that are coming up. Because I knew that the next section is really tight, and that was an e-biker who just passed, by the way. But I knew the upcoming sections were very tight with a lot of twisty turns, so there wasn't much opportunity to get a lot of speed, not much opportunity to pass. So, I thought the best idea for me at the time was just to try and stick with him. I could see that he was on a full suspension bike, so just try and stick with him, not let him get too far away. And then I figured, my fitness at the end of the race could, potentially make me pass him. So we just crossed the 6-mile marker. So like I said, this race is 7.5 miles. So we have about 1.5 miles left to the finish line. I guess I can briefly talk about some of the equipment that I brought on this race. Pretty similar to previous years. For starters, I have my bike computer. I think it's a Garmin 520. My smartwatch, which is Google Pixel Watch. In terms of tools, I just brought a multi-tool, Crank Brothers multi-tool, 2 CO2 canisters, Dynaplug Racer Pro. And that's pretty much it. I didn't bring a spare inner tube or anything like that, and I just brought 1 bottle of water. So now we're approaching kind of the lap portion. So if you did one of the longer races today, this is where you would go do your second or third lap. But since I was doing a 1-lap race, this is the final sprint to the finish line, essentially. So I lucked out my suspension because I knew I wouldn't need any suspension anymore. And there's actually 2 climbs. So this is the first climb. Once again, I pretty much just wanted to stay behind this guy I didn't want to start my sprint too early. But for the second climb coming up, I just got a bunch of speed from this downhill section, and as you can see in the clip, I was able to kind of slingshot myself from that downhill section up this hill, and I was able to pass him on this final uphill. So after that uphill section of the course, there's this flatter section, and then kind of these switchbacks that we went through at the start of the course. And so pretty much here at this point, you know, I was pretty confident in my fitness levels just from training throughout the year, doing different things. So I didn't even look back. I wasn't sure how close he was to me. He was probably, you know, 5 or 10 feet behind me. But I was pretty confident in my sprinting abilities. So yeah, this is the end of the course. I'm now in 4th place, and here is the final sprint to the finish line. So hopefully you all liked the video. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Carlton, Marshall, the second. Lawrence in 48.